Was not Jesus 3 days and 3 nights in the tomb? Let it not be forgotten that he was buried on the day called the Preparation Day, Friday, and that the chief priests and the Pharisees went to Pilate on the day that followed the day of the preparation, Matthew chapter 27, verse 62, on Sabbath, requesting him to set a watch over the tomb. It was therefore the second night after his burial that the tomb was guarded. And the fact that this was the night that Jesus arose, Matthew chapter 28, verses 1 through 5, proves that he was in the tomb only the 2 nights, Friday night and Saturday night. Consequently, the statement, 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth, must stand for something more than simply his being in the grave, as interpreted by some. Then, in Matthew chapter 28, verse 1, the words, "As it began to dawn toward the first day of the week," are not spoken with intention to tell the time when Jesus arose, but to show the time when the women arrived at the tomb, and therefore cannot be taken to mean, as some think, the evening at the end of the Sabbath. For the women came to the sepulchre in the morning, as each gospel writer attests. Luke, "Now upon the first day of the week, very early in the morning, they came unto the sepulchre." Luke chapter 24, verse 1. Mark, "And very early in the morning, the first day of the week, they came unto the sepulchre at the rising of the sun." Mark chapter 16, verse 2. John, "The first day of the week cometh Mary Magdalene early, when it was yet dark, unto the sepulchre." John chapter 20, verse 1. Matthew, "In the end of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn toward the first day of the week, not as it began to turn toward the first night of the week, came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to see the sepulchre." Matthew chapter 28, verse 1. The statement that Mary Magdalene and the other Mary came to see the sepulchre as it began to dawn toward the first day of the week, Matthew chapter 28, verse 1, has been interpreted by some to mean that they came to the sepulchre on the Sabbath before sunset, and then found that the Lord had already risen. But let it be remembered that on the day when they came, Mary met the Lord himself and talked with him. If, therefore, she was told on the Sabbath by the angels that Jesus had risen from the dead, and she herself then saw the sepulchre empty, also talked with the Lord, Matthew chapter 28, verses 1 through 9. Why should she play the fool on Sunday morning by going to the sepulchre to see the Lord's body, as though she knew nothing about his resurrection, when instead she should have heeded his instructions to give the news to the disciples and to meet him in Galilee? Matthew chapter 28, verses 1 through 7, John chapter 20, verse 1 through 17, Mark chapter 16, verses 1 and 2, and Luke chapter 24, verses 1 through 10. Also, John chapter 20, verse 1, bear threefold proof that in regard to the Lord's resurrection, Mary Magdalene knew nothing before Sunday morning, when to her surprise the angel said, "He is risen, he is not here. Behold the place where they laid him. But go your way. Tell his disciples and Peter that he goeth before you into Galilee. There shall ye see him." Mark chapter 16, verses 6 and 7. Then, too, Mark says that Jesus was risen early the first day of the week, and also that on the first day of the week, not on the Sabbath, he appeared first to Mary Magdalene. Mark chapter 16, verse 9. Those, therefore, who interpret the words, "as it began to dawn toward the first day of the week," to mean that it was late Sabbath afternoon, and that Jesus was then risen, are in serious error. Mark says, "when the Sabbath was past," whereas Matthew says, "in the end of the Sabbath." In another instance, the one says, "very early in the morning the first day of the week," whereas the other says, "as it began to dawn toward the first day of the week." These comparative phrases all have the same significance. And furthermore, a comparison of Matthew chapter 28, verse 1, and John chapter 20, verse 1 shows that both scriptures refer to one and the same event, though many try to refute the fact. John says that the women came to the sepulchre the first day of the week, when it was yet dark. This cannot mean in the end of the Sabbath, as the sun was about to set, for had that been the time, John would not have said, when it was yet dark, plainly indicating that the night had almost worn away, but not completely. And Matthew, speaking of this same time, says, in the end of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn toward the first day of the week. Thus, in the light of all the Gospels, the word dawn can be interpreted to mean only the breaking of day, the morning. The English dictionary also supports this definition. Now, even a cursory analysis of these four synoptic passages can result in but the one conclusion that all four observers are writing of the same event, the visit of Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to the tomb, of the same place, Christ's sepulchre, and of the same time, early in the morning, the first day of the week, only each stating the matter in his own words, a threefold conclusion which is further borne out by examining the subject from the angle of